A good day. I hope you guys have had a good day and are having a good evening right now. Got quite a bit going on. We had a little bit going on today, even some storms passing through my area today. Nothing too major, maybe some small hail drop. But over towards Florida, where I mentioned there was a 2% risk of tornadoes yesterday, right around Sarasota, there was video of a tornado today. Can't show it on the channel for obvious reasons, but that just goes to show, and it's a clear reminder that 2% chance isn't a 0% chance. So when you end up under any kind of risk, whether it's a slight risk, marginal risk, or anything higher than that, just keep an eye on the weather. Just stay weather ready and weather aware. If you guys like what you've been seeing from my channel, please like, subscribe, and share the channel. Just continue getting the word out, whether it's just for me or in regards to the severe weather or just weather updates in general. So the main reason the main topic behind this video today is going to be these next couple of days. We have a severe weather risk. So for tomorrow, Thursday, day 2, we have a pretty sizable slight risk area, and then we have a marginal risk as well. If we take a look at the categorical risk, we have a very isolated tornado threat, very small scale, mostly around the Louisiana area. And then it's pretty much the same with wind, but we did get this area added in here, right around the Texas-Oklahoma line. It's a 15% chance of straight line damaging winds within 25 miles of a given point. Same for Louisiana. The real threat here seems to be large hail. Hail of at least 1 inch or higher, or 2-inch hail, excuse me. Or actually, no, it is 1 inch. I'm over here reading this thinking all sorts of crazy stuff. Brains all over the place, so I apologize for that. But the hail threat is what pretty much encompasses both the marginal and slight risk areas. So that's definitely going to be the main threat here. It's the most widespread threat by far. And then if we look at the day 3 risk, we have a very big marginal risk area, and then we have yet another slight risk. And this is for guess who? New Orleans. All you guys down towards the Gulf Coast. And even sneaking into the southwestern tips of the Georgia-Alabama line. Tallahassee are in this too, but the marginal risk is the really interesting part about all this to me. We've had such a big surge of warm air that now even areas like Ohio, the Ohio Valley, are coming into play for severe weather now. This pushes as far north as even Cincinnati and Columbus. So we don't have a categorical on the day 3 outlook, so we'll go into the forecast models, kind of see what the threats could be and what the radar may look like. So we're going to fast forward to about 22 hours out. This is going to be about early into the afternoon, or late into the afternoon into the early evening hours. And we can see the low pressure that was moving through here earlier that caused a little severe weather today, including the tornado. Moving out, and then we see this low, which is going to be the next act, and we can even see that there's a little bit of backside snow here. I'm also kind of suspicious of the chance of some thunder snow around western Kansas here. I'll show you why I'm suspicious of that when we get to the temperature map. We're going to take a look at that in a moment. But if we look at what the radar might look like here, it's not going to be till late in the evening when these severe thunderstorm threat develops. Right about 2 o'clock, you can start to see storms popping off around here. These are mainly going to be comprising of hail, maybe some straight line winds. And it's not till 3 o'clock where Oklahoma City and areas off to the east start to come into play. And the tornado threat probably isn't going to kick off until about 5 o'clock. Now, the daytime heating, which is a key factor most times in severe weather outbreaks, it's just not really going to be there. It's just too late into the evening and into the early morning work for us to keep that energy going. This low is not quite strong enough to pull in enough moisture and other thermodynamics to kind of keep things rolling for severe storms, which is a good thing, because this would turn into a very dangerous nocturnal threat. So as we go further and further out into the morning, we're watching this complex of storms move to the east. And from the looks of it, by about late morning, we're going to have Mississippi engulfed in this complex of storms. I think the hail threat's going to be pretty sufficient as well. Off to the south, I think there's still going to be a small tornado threat. So as we move further and further off to the east, this complex of storms kind of forms into a little bit of a quasi-linear event or a line. This is not the most impressive one I've seen either, so I think the severe threats are going to be pretty low. Hence why they went with the marginal risk instead of anything higher around here. They just kind of kept it condensed down to this area because I think this is where the daytime heating is going to be more prevalent. So as we move forward, by about 5-6 o'clock Atlanta, you're gonna run into this complex of storms. But by about 8-9 o'clock, this is already going to be out of here. And then we're going to watch this form a little bit of snow around the Green Bay area. Great Lakes are going to get a little burst of snow. But look how far north this rain has started to push now. That just shows how much we've warmed up over the last few days compared to the beginning of the week, where everybody was freezing their butts off and having 35-mile-per-hour wind gusts around half of the eastern half of the country. So we reached the end of the model run here, and there is a day 4 risk, but I'll go into detail about that tomorrow. There's just not a lot that I can really look at right now to really give some sort of outline as to what we could expect. So we're gonna go on to the temperature map here, and I'm really excited to show you guys this, because you'll get to see where the cold front is, and you'll also kind of see why I'm suspicious of there being a chance for thunder snow. So this is about 7 o'clock, maybe 6 o'clock Central Time tomorrow. We're looking here. We can see exactly where our front is right now, because you can see here, and this is also what I was talking about earlier with peak heating of the day. It's about 7 o'clock-ish, 6 o'clock Central. You can see that the temperatures are still about 70, some points even 80 degrees, more than sufficient enough for severe weather. And then right behind it, we have 40s and even some 30s. And then right around here is where our snow was developing when we looked on the precip map just a minute ago. So as we move further and further forward, this is where our snow is going to be right here, and then right around here is our warm sector, and this is where our severe weather is going to be. Around this time, there's still a good bit of warm air going, but these storms are probably going to fire off earlier than what the NAM was showing us. It wouldn't surprise me at all, and I think that there could be an increased tornado risk around this area. NAM's a little bit wonky right now, I feel like, in my opinion, but we'll find out soon. I think this is going to be another nowcast situation. It typically is with most severe weather systems, so all we can do is just wait and see. But to anyone that is in these areas, I definitely want you to stay weather aware. Hopefully you have a NOAA weather radio or just some way to get some sort of notification if a severe thunderstorm or tornado warning is issued. Don't get caught off guard at night. There could be some very steep consequences for that. So as we move further and further forward, we lose a lot of that daytime heating. And this is around the time when the storms are really supposed to start picking up. We're looking at mid to low 60s. It's not the most ideal setup for severe weather, but it's still very possible. And then as we move further and further forward, we're watching this warm air start to pick back up right around here. It doesn't really meet up with where these storms are. I think from what I saw in the NAM, we were looking at these storms in Alabama. The warm air is going to be mostly to the south, maybe just a little bit further ahead of it. Kind of almost becomes an anti-front type situation, which is really interesting. But right about here, the storms are right about here, and then there is a little bit of warm air ahead of it. So this could get interesting as we get towards the 5 o'clock hour. There could be some pretty strong storms as they move further and further to the east, around south central Georgia and into the panhandle of Florida. So there could be a pretty substantial wind threat. Excuse me. There could be a pretty substantial wind threat, maybe even a tornado threat. We'll look at the bulk shear just to make sure. But as we move on further and further, this line has started to dissipate at this point. We've lost a lot of the atmospheric ingredients needed for severe weather. And then by early Saturday morning, these storms are going to be off towards the Carolina coast, maybe even as far north as the Delmarva. But we don't really cool down too much from this storm system based off of this model run here as well. So don't pull your jackets out. But we're going to move to the NAM 3 kilometer for the dew points next. Might have to refresh the page here. Alright, here we go. Uh-oh. It's going haywire on me again. Oh, wait. Oh, wow. Now I want it to load. Computer wants to be difficult tonight. Has a little ego of its own saying, I want to be the star of the show. Alright, so now that we've loaded, we have to get back to where we were before. Uh-oh. Oh, that's why I didn't log in, so I got ads popping up all the time. So let's fix this screen real quick. Okay, so... And you can also see what I was saying earlier, that we should be grateful that this storm system isn't going to be popping off storms at peak heating of the day, because look at the dew points, especially towards South Texas. We're getting dew points into the mid to upper 60s, and with the temperatures in the 80s like that, that would be like a powder keg for storms. This would be like a hotbed, but thankfully this low doesn't really kick into high gear until later. And then you can also see where our dry line is once more, because you see dew points in the 50s here, and then and you can see where this line kind of cuts off, and you see the sharp contrast. So as we go further and further forward here, we can see this little plume of moisture trying to work its way up. Dew points is still definitely high. We got some 60s and some mid to upper 60s, and maybe a couple isolated pockets of 70s into the early morning hours, especially around western parts of Louisiana. And that's going to push to the east, and then this is what's going to end up triggering our severe weather around here. We still have an abundant amount of moisture, but it's not the most ideal setup for severe weather. I think there's also going to be a lot of cloud cover that day that kind of holds down the amount of CAPE that's in the atmosphere as well. So this is going to be these are definitely going to be limiting factors. Because I tell you, about a month from now, if this kind of setup happens, we could be talking a different story. This could be a little bit uglier. But look at the dew points here. Even when this storm does finally move through, early Saturday morning, it's going to be muggy to downright oppressive for these areas right here around the Gulf Coast and South Georgia. So that's the end of our model run here. So we're going to try to exit out here before these ads take over my computer and slow it down heavily. Might be too late. Uh-oh. Come on now. Work with me here. Maybe I should have opened it in a different window. So, yeah, I guess this one's on me for not logging in. So we got Just two more models to look at here. Oh no, it just kicked me out of the other one. Yep. So I guess we're just gonna have to use this. Oh, and thankfully this tab's logged in. I don't know why the other ones weren't. It's kind of strange. Still acting out. Okay, there we go. Alright, now we're back in here. So we're going to take a look at the lapse rate, which is going to be probably the real highlight of this video. Because these steep lapse rates, and you can already tell that there's a lot going on here just from looking at the rates right now. And I don't anticipate this lightening up. Just waiting for this to load. And it's still moving slow even without the ads. Okay, there we go. Now we got some movement. I'm still getting ads. Oh, it kicked me out. That's bogus. I don't know why my computer is acting so freaking crazy. So now that we got that squared away, look at these lapse rates. Even though there's no thunderstorms popping up around here at this time, look at that. We're looking at lapse rates of 8, maybe even 9. Almost at the top, pretty much at the top of the charts. So as these storms are starting to develop right around, and you can even see where that low is spun up right about here. Look at the lapse rates. That is insane. Just look at that. We're still looking at lapse rates of 7, 8, 8.5, even pushing towards 9 at some parts easily. Definitely alarming. Definitely alarming. So we could get some nocturnal gorilla hail, that's for sure. And then by Friday, it seems like we still have a little bit of lapse rate available, but it's not going to be anywhere near as robust as it will be tomorrow night. And then as we move further and further off to the east, we continue to lose that lapse rate. I think tomorrow definitely looks like it's going to be more of a wind threat. Maybe even an isolated chance of a tornado, but the hail threat's definitely going down. It's definitely not going to be a standout threat compared to what we were looking at just a little bit ago about Thursday night. So there's the end of our model run here. So let's look at the Cape, and then we will look at the shear, and that should be it for our video today. Hopefully I've kept this video pretty short. So we're looking at the Cape here. Just waiting for it to load. Got to get to about 25 odd hours out. And there we go. So here we are. We're at about 10, 11 o'clock Central Time. We can see a little bit of Cape starting to develop where that low has spun up. I'm having to battle these ads here. No, I'm not interested in Anytime Fitness. I'm not interested in whatever this is either. This is just slowing my computer up so badly. So we have a lot of Cape just south of Oklahoma City. I don't think this lines up with the storms that we're showing on the precipitation map here. So I'm not too sure about the tornado threat. It's a little bit uncertain based off of this model. Once we get to the within range of the HRRR, I'll have a little bit better of an idea. So as we look further and further forward, lapse rate, the Cape doesn't really seem to pop up where the storms are. So this might be a little bit off, actually. So we'll have to take that with a grain of salt and take a closer look into that tomorrow. Because I'll probably be able to post a video again before these storms pop off, with it being such a late nocturnal threat. So let's have a look at the bulk shear. We'll even take a look at the STP, the significant tornado parameter, real quick before we head off of here for the night. You know what? I'm going to log in. You aren't going to see any info because I already have this pre-saved. And there we go. Now I have to, but only downside to it is now I have to get back to the NAM 3 kilometers. So I apologize for this, but at least my computer shouldn't freeze as much now. So now I have to get back to where it was, which kind of sucks, but it's okay. I do this for you guys. And for me too, really, because I kind of enjoy doing this. So go to forecast loop. All right, now let's have a look here. Let's get to about 23 hours out. There we go. Yeah, it loads much faster now. So it's about 5 o'clock. Let's move a little bit further forward. So you do see a little bit of mid to low. You do see a little bit of shear around here. It's not very much. Ooh, excuse me. It's not very much to work with. I think it's going to be really concentrated around Louisiana. And even then, it's not very much. I do notice something interesting here, though. Right around the time the storms are expected to move around Mississippi, you do see a little bit of a point where there's a little bit stronger shear right around central Mississippi. That could be something to watch for. That might become an area of interest. We'll have to see if this trend holds. I'm honestly not too optimistic about it, but this pushes it a little further east, and it could turn into, and this definitely looks like it turns into a wind threat. Maybe a little bit of a, maybe this little off piece here might drop a spin up towards that slight risk area right around southern Alabama and the Florida Panhandle. It pushes its way into Georgia. Wind shear is not very impressive. And then by that point, we're done with our storms and we're done with our model run. So take one last look here. Significant tornado parameter. Interested to see if there is a flash rate here. No, there isn't. I'm still getting used to all these tools that I'm using here as well, so you might see me muttering, trying to find just different tools and maybe experimenting with those on videos. So we're looking at the significant tornado parameter around 7 o'clock on Thursday. Not a lot going on, which is to be expected. These storms are expected to fire up very late. Went too far ahead now. So there we go. Then right around here, we do get some readings. They're very low though, about 2. There are 2s and 3s. And then we have one point where it goes up to about maybe a 4, maybe a 3 or 4. Or 3.5 really. Nothing super crazy. Rolls through Louisiana around, parameters a little bit higher around noon for Louisiana. And then it does kind of push a little bit more to the north, which is really interesting. So there could be some embedded supercells and embedded tornadoes in that line of storms. It really depends on the timing. And then by early Saturday, threat dies out. And then we'll have to go over there the severe weather threat for the Carolina coast tomorrow. But that's all I have for you guys tonight. This has been Ty, your Metalhead Weatherman. Stay safe, have a good night, enjoy the rest of your evening. Stay metal.